Hello and welcome to another video here on Powerdojo. In today's episode of DAX Wednesdays, we're going to have a look at a DAX function called SELECTEDVALUE, which belongs to the filter family of DAX functions. Let's move to Power BI for the demo. Over here, we have a data model ready with two columns. First is the country. Second, the FIFA World Cups won. We have the list of countries that have won FIFA World Cups in the past, as well as few who haven't. If you're a fan of football, you might already know that Brazil has won 5 World Cups so far, Argentina 3, they're also defending champions, whereas Belgium, Portugal, India haven't won any. So let's move to the report view. Over here we have a slicer visual with all the countries that we just saw in our data model. The DAX function that we're going to have a look today is SELECTEDVALUE. So what it will let you do is whatever selection we make in this slicer visual, it will update the corresponding visual in which we are using the DAX function, update dynamically the values as per the selection that we have made in the slicer visual over here. Let's have a look at how we can use the SELECTEDVALUE DAX function. First of all, we'll put in a card visual, which you can do that by clicking on this card visual icon in the visualizations pane like this. And the value that we're going to put in this card visual is the FIFA World Cups won. I just changed the background of this card visual so that you can easily identify it in the report. I'll show you how this value is updated as per the selection that we make in our slicer. Let's select Italy. So Italy has won 4 World Cups so far. So as you can see, as per this selection that we made in the slicer, it has updated dynamically the other visual. Spain has won 1, China has won 0, Argentina 3. Now we're going to use the same principle of dynamically updating visuals using the DAX measure. We put in this new measure by clicking on this 3 dots over here on our data model, put in new measure. We'll name it as SELECTEDVALUE and we'll use the DAX function, which is SELECTEDVALUE, which is the last here like this. Now SELECTEDVALUE takes in one argument, which is the column name. For example, we want to put in the column name, which is FIFA World Cups won. Let's see first of all what happens if we were to close the bracket over here and say enter. So perfect, DAX function seems to be working. I'll put in another card visual like this, and this time I'll be using the selected value as the value to put in the card visual. Once again, I will change the properties, change the background, let's say pink. So the first card visual is nothing but the column name, which already exists in the data model, whereas the second card visual we have used the DAX measure. Now let's see what happens if we were to click on, let's say, Italy again. So you'll see both these card visuals update. Spain 1 each, France 2 each. So far so good. But what if I were to click on, let's say, Belgium, which hasn't won any World Cup so far? If I were to click on Belgium, it will say 0. So this is perfect. By selecting this option, it will clear all the selections in our slicer. Now, as you can see, in the first card visual, it has returned to us the sum of all the FIFA World Cups won, whereas in the second card visual, it has returned a blank. Now, why is that? Now, if I were to go back into our DAX function over here, if you remember, we only put in one argument, but in SELECTEDVALUE, we have an optional argument as well, which is required in this case, especially this case that we just saw. So it doesn't return us a blank value. Now, just in case if it is blank, there's no selection made in the slicer visual, we can put in optional text such as no filter on country names. So next time, if I did not select any among the options in the slicer, it will return to me no filter on country names. Let's say enter. I'll see this is exactly what PowerBI written to us, the optional text that we just put in the second optional argument of our DAX function. All right, so if I have to click on Belgium, you'll see it will return the values. England will return the values, and if I have to deselect or clear the selections, it will return the optional argument that we put in. So far so good. Now To take this a step further, what we'll do is we will remove this two card visuals. Now there is a possibility in Power BI that we can combine, let's say, a fixed value and a dynamic value together. Let's see how we can do that. We'll put in another measure by clicking on this option, new measure. Let's call this measure text, and we'll use the concatenate option. So what does concatenate let you do? It will let you join two text strings. Now in our example, what we're going to do is we're going to have one text which is fixed, which won't change by the selections that we make in the slicer, and the second will be a dynamic text string which will change as per the selection that we make in the slicer. So let's do that. For our fixed text, we'll put in something, the number of FIFA World Cups won by, put a space. Now this is the first argument. As you can see, we have put in the first argument. Now it is asking for the second argument. Over here we'll be using the dynamic value, which is we can put in using the selected value DAX function. This time around, what we're going to do is the number of FIFA World Cups won by. So I need to put in the country column over here. So this DAX function will let you put in the country name over here. Now if you remember, in the selected value, as we just saw, we can put in an alternative or optional argument that will put in the text. Let's say no country selected. All right, close this. Since Power BI hasn't returned any errors, which means this DAX function is correct, we'll insert another card visual over here. This time we'll use the text measure to the card visual, expand it, just change the properties, putting a different background, let's say blue. All right, so right now the card visual is saying no country selected, which is obvious because we haven't selected anything in the slicer visual. For our example, we'll put in another measure over here. Click on these three dots. We put a new measure. Let's call this measure total points. We'll use the calculate DAX function for this measure. If for those who are interested to learn more about the calculate DAX function, I have created another video on it. You can watch it by clicking on the link on the top right over here. So the calculate DAX function takes in an expression which in our case will be sum. It will return as the sum of the number of World Cups won. So we have to select name FIFA World Cups won. So it will return us the sum of the FIFA World Cups won. I'll close this bracket, put in a comma. Now the calculate DAX function is taking in a filter. Now over here, the filter that we're going to use is all. So irrespective of what we select in the slicer, it will return to us the whole table. So in this case, we can either put in the table name or column name. In this case, we are going to use the table name. So you click on the table name, which is World Cup tally, close the bracket again, and there you go. I'll put in the card visual, which will take into consideration this new measure, which is total points that we put in. Click on it, change the property so it's easily distinguishable. Let's put in, let's say pink. All right, let's see what happens if I were to select something in the slicer. If I were to click on India, this card visual is updated, but this visual doesn't change. Now you'll say, okay, India hasn't won any World Cups, so that might be the case. But what if I were to click on Italy? Italy has won 4 World Cups. We know that. But as you can see, the second card visual doesn't change because the filter that we used, the kind of filter that we used for this total points DAX function is irrespective of whatever you select in the slicer, it will give you the total number of editions or the total number of World Cups that have been won so far. Now taking this a step further, we'll put in another card visual like this, position it like this, and use the first measure that we created, which was selected value. Let's select this, expand it, change the properties by changing the background to, let's say, purple. Let's see what happens now if I have to select France. So now you'll see France has won 2 World Cups. This card visual has been updated. This card visual has been updated, whereas this hasn't. Argentina has won 3, Belgium has won 0, Brazil has won 5 out of 22. We can take this a step further as well. Let's calculate the proportion of World Cups that have won by, let's say, each country. Since there are 22 World Cups been played so far, how many among them have been won, what proportion or what percentage of World Cups have been won by Brazil or Argentina, for instance. So we will do that by using another measure. Click on this 3 dots over here, new measure. Let's call this percentage is equal to, we need to divide. Now what we need to divide? We need to divide the number of World Cups, for instance, which will appear over here, that let's say for won by England, and divided by the total number of World Cups that have been played so far. So the numerator over here will be selected value, right? So which is changing dynamically. So it has to be selected value. So we put in selected value, FIFA World Cups won, close the bracket over here, in a comma. Now it has moved to the denominator. Now there is an interesting way either you can put in the denominator. Now we already know that there have been 22 editions played so far. So I can either directly type in 22 or I can use the measure, that is total points, that you will see over here. Will DAX let you put in another measure? Yes, Power BI lets you use an existing measure in another measure like this. So as you can see, percentage is one measure and we are using another measure, total points, in it. Now what happens if I had to close the bracket? This, you'll see it has added the percentage DAX function over here. I'll put in another card visual where we'll select the percentage value. It's obviously it's blank because I haven't made any selection over here. I'll change the background to, let's say, orange or whatever this color is. And let's say what happens if I click on France. So France has won 0.009. Now the format is not the one that I want, so we can change it to, let's say, percentage over here and click on this icon in the measure tool tab. So we'll return the percentage. So France has won 2 World Cups among the 22 World Cups so far. So it has the proportion of World Cups it has won is 9.09. Let's see what Brazil has won an astonishing 22.73% of all the World Cups that have been played so far, and that's why they are considered as the best team in the world by far, no matter which era we are playing in. Let's say select in Argentina, which has recently won, or who are the defending champions now. They have a proportion of 13.64. Italy and Germany have each won 4 World Cups each, so it's 18% of World Cups won by Germany and Italy. So this was our demonstration. I hope you liked the video. Do not forget to leave a comment and subscribe. I will see you in the next video.